For all that, he's been up and down the grid a little bit. He's sitting there at a consistent fifth, and he's had some of the best finishes he's ever had, even getting up to that podium third spot earlier on the season. So Simon's actually had a really good season, and I think he'd be absolutely chuffed to come away with fourth in the championship. But saying that, James Haskell there in sixth place, only 3 points behind Simon Reed. We were talking to James Haskell last week. He's not going to make that easy on Simon, and there's some real competition between them two guys.
Yeah, spec series around Oulton Park is competitive enough as it is, and then you throw in the championship implications, and that just makes it all the more tantalising. We're going to throw to qualifying very quickly, what could be a very, very important qualifying session here. But interestingly enough, if you haven't joined us for any of the races previously, to make a note, we have two races on offer today. The first race is a straight up sprint race that we get the qualifying order from, of course, qualifying, and then we have a reverse grid race in the second. So really, Dave, if you're leading the championship with a slender lead, 5 or 6 points going into the second race, the reverse race, how do you approach it? Are you cautious, or is it just business as usual?
Yeah, you know what? If it was me, I just sort of go for it. I don't leave anything on the line, and it's all about the driving, isn't it? Whether you're driving in a championship or whether you're driving a single event, if you just bring your aid game, just set the pedal down and just go for it, then what have you got to lose? That's the way I look at it, and it tends to work itself out. You've got to take the chance a bit sometimes, Connell, and sometimes it pays off and sometimes it doesn't. But if you're giving it everything at the time and you're really hanging it out, then that's the best way to win a championship in my mind.
Yeah, absolutely, and personal experience as well, battling for a championship. It's so hard to not let those demons, those thoughts, that paranoia just seep in. It's very easy to get to the point where you're really overthinking things and you're thinking too much about external factors. But if you really rein yourself back in as such and start thinking, look, I can only control what I'm doing with my car. Let's just try and have a normal drive, have a normal race, and see how things go, and not worry about the external factors. I think that's where the sort of comfort comes from, that you can get back into a rhythm. And we've already seen Jordan Brennan going through Old Hall Corner there to start his first qualifying lap, or his second qualifying lap. It was absolutely sideways, a clear exceeding of track limits, but it was spectacular nonetheless.
Yeah, Jordan Brennan's definitely one of them drivers where you definitely know he's running traction control off. He really likes to get on that power nice and early, and if the back end comes out, then it comes out, and he keeps his foot in, just throws it round the corner and gets round. Robbie Stiltford, you notice, is a lot smoother, a lot easier on the power on entry, but gets that car really hooked on corner exit, and that's what seemed to bring them lap times down when it matters. Them last few tenths, just enough to put it on pole, and also whether or not that has any sort of impact on the tyres, the tyre wear. We might see Jordan Brennan with his driving style in these cars struggle a little more the later on we go into the race.
It's a very interesting point, that. And speaking of the Brennan versus Stateford battle, we have Robbie Stateford pulling out of pit lane directly behind Jordan Brennan. So perhaps a little bit of mind games going on, maybe.
Yeah, bit of tactics.
Yeah, he might get himself towed around a lovely lap to increase the gap over the guy who's directly in front of him on track, which has happened so much before in motorsport. You really, not that you can do too much about giving a tow to someone, but when you do give a tow to especially a championship rival in the final round, you just feel sick to your stomach.
Yeah, I mean, to me, you just give the lap up, don't you? If there's a championship contender in your tour, you back out your lap, whether you're on a good lap or not, because you can't afford that driver behind you to get them extra few tenths on that lap. So, yeah, John Brennan, he actually needs to be quite wary that Robbie Stiltford's close he is. But in saying that, it's Oulton Park, Connell. There's not, the straights aren't that long here. That slipstream's really going to play dividends, and it's probably not worth that much in grand scheme of things. So maybe it is best that Jordan just gets his head down, stops looking at his mirror, and just gets going and gets a good lap time put down.
Yeah, that's a great point. Almost be a blocker for Robbie Stiltford there if he had traffic in front of him, even though it's Jordan Brennan who seemed just to be absolutely rapid. You've seen there in previous races just fast slap qualifying on pole. But just when you can't carry the corner speed, when you're getting sucked into the corner because there's a car in front of you, it really can upset a qualifying lap. But it's exactly what we've seen. The wouldn't say paranoia, it's not gone as far, but just the reluctance to give Robbie Stableford a tow means that Jordan Brennan dove into pit lane there. Maybe we haven't seen him, as you can see in the timing screen there, he's not still in the pit, so it might have just been a self-drive-through penalty as such, just to give himself some clean air and not have Robbie anywhere near him.
Yeah, potentially that, or it might have just been quick pop out of the pits, new set of tyres, bit more fuel in, go back out and try again. But you'll notice Robbie Stiltford through that tight complex there, pinpoint accurate into them barriers, not even using the curve on the inside of the grass on that, nearly clipping his mirrors on them big bollards in the middle. That is really how to get the most out of this track. And you'll see that, that's gotten them extra few tenths. As we see Lawrence Davey there going very wide on the exit of the complex, just losing the back end, doing well to keep that out the wall there. Just quick note, 5th and 6th place, as we were talking about before, Connell, Simon Reed and James Haskell. Actually, Simon Reed's got a little bit of that advantage that he needs going into this race to help with that championship standing over James Haskell there.
Yeah, 3 points to the difference. Simon Reed 5th in the championship, James Haskell 6th in the championship. And as you were saying earlier, of course, we don't have Alex Todd-Jones in this race. So no matter what you would think, unless there's an unfortunate DNF for either of the two drivers, this is now no longer a battle for 5th in the championship. This is a battle for 4th in the championship, which that one step higher, just off the top three, who have been absolutely immaculate all season. That would be a feather in the cap and a bit of momentum going forward, when you've got guys like Stableford, Brennan, Edmondson, and you're just off them, just another couple of tenths here and there over the course of a race, and you can be there on the back of them. It's a bit of encouragement going forward, whereas if you don't quite get the races to rub of the green as such, and you find yourself maybe 6th, 7th, 8th in the championship, it can just leave you a little bit demotivated maybe going into a new season. But yeah, certainly whoever gets 4th in this championship right now will be busting to get out. They wish there'd be a new championship tomorrow almost.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the momentum, as you say, as a driver carries forward from a championship into a new championship when they've had a good result in the previous one is absolutely massive. But like whether you're 1st or 2nd, that can sometimes be actually one of them moments where, especially if you've been 1st and you go into a new championship, you've got that bit of pressure on you to go, well, you're 1st last season, it's almost expected this season. And so 1st driver, almost a bit of pressure, 2nd goes into that new championship going, you know what, I want to win this one, this is the one we'll do it in. But as I say, Simon Reed, best championship he's entered yet regarding results, and looking really promising in championship standing. So he'll have a huge boost of confidence there going in towards future championships, to being from the lower end of that grid to really actually being at the front of that mid mark.
1.2 off is Simon Reed, and actually Press has overtaken Haskell, so that's great for Simon Reed having Haskell. Of course, Haskell's going to end up directly behind him, but not alongside him on the grid, which could be crucial in their championship battle. But I don't think that James Haskell is quite done just yet. You can see there also the battle between 1st and 2nd. Jordan Brennan, he has improved in time, not in place, but he's brought that gap down to a 10th of a second. I suppose really when it comes to the context of this championship, Dave, I mean, 1st or 2nd with these guys on the grid, not really that big a difference, not that great an importance. Could be a psychological factor, but I don't think these guys will be fussed either way if they're 1st or 2nd, as long as they've secured that front row and they can see clean air in front of them.
Yeah, I mean, you get 1 point for putting it on pole, so Jordan Brennan could do with that point realistically. Whether or not he's actually saying that, looking at the timing sheets, he's actually just gone and done it by 600ths of a second over Robbie Stableford. So actually that's been really quite a major change there. 1 point going to Jordan Brennan. This is where we'll be thinking, Max Edmondson, my teammate, let's get it on 2nd place, push Robbie Stableford back a position. Let's try and get that front row blocked out. Because he's going to know Max Edmondson's not going to do anything, that stupid there as a teammate. But whereas Robbie Stableford, not saying he's going to do something stupid, but he's definitely not going to be as easy on Jordan Brennan as Max will, and he'll be really fighting for that position. I would have thought from the moment it goes live.
Yeah, and the momentum you can carry around this track, the corner speed that you do carry, and it's quite a flowing circuit. When you get involved in a battle and there's a guy in front of you that has a bit of clean air, you can really find yourself losing bucket loads of time, even if you're not really in this big, aggressive battle where you're block passing each other at every corner. Just upsetting the rhythm that little bit, not getting a run up one of the big hills. Of course, the amount of undulations they have here at Oulton Park is like a roller coaster. But
Yeah.
yeah, you just don't get to run out of a few of them. You can find Jordan Brennan or whoever it is out in front, just stretching it over half a second, breaking that toe from the other two, and then really that's game set match.
Yeah, I mean, but it also works the other way, Connell. You've got this pack sort of breaking away in them top three. Simon Reed there's about 1.3 seconds, and you might look at that and go, that's a fair big gap to the pack in front. But all it takes is that pack in front to start battling, and you say lose half a second to a second, and actually Simon's Reed's time then actually looks really quite competitive in the grand scheme of things, and keeps him right on that pack, and actually makes him a threat to any of them drivers that has them little mistakes by running wide, or has a little lockup, and Simon Reed will be there even though his time isn't representative.
So Jordan Brennan, as we count down to 30 seconds to go in qualifying, this will be the driver's final lap of the qualifying session. Max Edmondson is in the pits, he is done. Davies in the pits, he is also done. So we have two drivers in the pits, pretty comfortable that they have secured their grid slots. Max Edmondson seems as though he has got third in the bag unless O'Farrell can pull something out of the hat, but he goes into the pits also. So we are just all eyes right now on Jordan Brennan. Can he improve that pole position and stretch it out further to Robbie Staleford? Doesn't need to. I don't know if Robbie Staleford is on that good of a lap, although we'll find out right now because he is just coming out of the last corner, out of Lodge Corner. Jordan Brennan not too far away from him. Robbie Staleford will be going over the line first. Will he be able to snap that pole position off Jordan Brennan? No, he does not. 129.386 for Robbie Staleford, and Jordan Brennan sees that immediately and pulls in the pit lane knowing that that pole position is secured. So as a neutral, it's what we want to see. We want to see second in the championship, first in the championship, 1 and 2 on the grid.
Yeah, definitely. And actually, I noticed there was quite a lot of significant damage to the front of Brennan's car there on the way back into the into the pit. Sorry, after quali. So I'll be keen to sort of throw that in the interview to find out where that damage was sort of sustained, and that was probably why that last lap he didn't look like he was pushing particularly hard.
Yeah, well, it didn't really have much of an effect because he stuck that on pole position, and that is big. Just securing that front row is key. Of course, if you haven't joined us at the start of the broadcast, if you haven't joined us at the rest of the season, 2 races today. We have the race coming up that is based on qualifying that you've just watched, and we have the reverse grid race coming shortly after that. 20-minute races, and we are going to have 2 cracking championship deciders.
Yeah, definitely that. And you know what? I really, really cannot wait for tonight. And if I'm honest, that quali's actually played it absolutely perfectly for us, Connell, from a spectator and a commentating point of view, for the championship rivals to put it 1 and 2, but realistically opposite way around in Robbie Stapleford's favour. Robbie would have probably really liked to have got that extra pole, got that extra point, and allowed him to get that clean air going into turn 1. This is going to put it right in the decider going into turn 1, and this could have huge championship implications.
Yeah, exactly that. And with that extra point that Robbie Staleford might have got for that pole position, it would have meant that Jordan Brennan would have a bit of extra work to do, actually, because if it had been a situation where Robbie, I'm trying to do the quick maths in my head, but if Robbie had 2/3 maybe, then it would have gone on the count back. Yeah. He lost 10 points, but now there's an 8-point gap. So now these guys are doing the quick maths, they're realizing what they need to do. But yeah, I feel like we haven't seen the best of these guys yet. The fireworks are just about to be unleashed here.
And the other thing to bear in mind here, Connell, as well, this is probably a little bit of mind games for Robbie Staleford, because Jordan Brennan's gone in, put the fastest time on the board. There's obviously a point for fastest lap during the race as well. There's 2 races, there's another 2 points for grabs. And bear in mind, Jordan has gone the fastest time yet, even in the practice service. So Robbie's probably thinking, Jordan's got some pace here that I haven't quite found yet, and that has to be a worry.
Yeah, absolutely. Robbie knows, so 2 seconds will be enough for that championship but he can't just sit there. It's not like he has really a big gap over the guys behind, because he is Jordan Brennan's teammate, of course, the second of the Riggs Esports Racing Team cars in Max Edmondson, directly behind him, and has the inside line going into turn one. So a bad start for Robbie, and Max can find himself in the slotting into P2 and really playing shotgun for his teammate.
Yeah, exactly that. And I'm actually going to put you on the spot here, Connell. How would you deal with this going into turn one? You've got the inside line on pole, you've got the championship leader on the outside going in, and Max Edmondson, your teammate behind. How do you tackle this? Do you try and back up the inside of the corner and challenge Robbie to go round the outside, knowing that Max is going to be right there defending?
Yeah, I think if it was me, it would be what we call in the bike racing world getting the elbows out. I think I'd be making my car as wide as possible. I would be anticipating Robbie to be going around the outside of me, trying to get that run and steal the inside going down into Cascades. So yeah, I'd be, oh no, I'm having a bit of understeer. Oh, I'm forcing you onto the grass. Isn't that a shame? Type situation. So yeah, we'll see how Jordan Brennan decides to play it, but certainly you would think, would be in a more advantageous position, knowing that he's got that teammate directly behind, breathing down Robbie Silver's neck.
Yeah, I mean, I think looking at this position now, Jordan Brennan's quite a little bit further forward there on the grid than Robbie Staleford. So for me, as long as he gets a good start, gets straight across in front of Robbie Staleford, hang it sort of that mid where, if Robbie was to go on the inside, he would have to be really quite early on the brakes. If he tries down around the outside, there's not really space. The only real place for him to go is sit behind Jordan and hope that Max Edmondson doesn't get the run up the inside of Robbie, and cause anything that way. So it's really quite an interesting grid of how it's panned out. And I'm thinking Robbie Staleford would have really have liked to been on pole there.
Yeah, I think for a spectator point, it's quite literally the perfect grid for us, isn't it? I mean,
it really is. Yeah.
The 1, 2, 3 would be the order if you were to be a neutral and look at the championship standings that you would pick. So yeah, it's going to be an absolute cracker. And don't forget, of course, we have fourth place in the championship to decide. And the two guys we were talking about, Simon Reed and James Haskell, aren't fourth or fifth on the grid. We have Tom O'Farrell, who's done a great job. He's eighth in the championship with an outside chance of getting that fourth or fifth spot, depending on how the results go. So big, important race for Tom O'Farrell too. And in the TSC Racing Team car, sitting eighth in the championship, 46 points. He'll just be looking to get some momentum going forward into the next series, won't he?
Yeah, definitely that. And here a few engines starting to burble and get ready now. So we're not far at all from the start of the race, I believe. Yeah, this is going to be absolutely hectic, I think, going into turn one. Hopefully it's nice and clean. But you know what? As you said, we couldn't have hoped for a better spectacle going into the last round of the championship.
So who will get the run in the Old Hall corner? Of course, we have Jordan Brennan on that pole position, second in the championship. I will remind you, he is on 105 points now because of that extra point for qualifying on pole. The red lights are going to come on very shortly. There's one, there's two. We have the third, fourth, fifth, sixth. Red lights are on, revs are off. And we are away. It is a great start for Jordan Brennan. He gets away quite well. It looks like Robbie Staleford is going to cut to the inside just to block Max Edmondson, and he does that. It's going to be a very, very important run through the avenue down into Cascades, but it looks like Jordan Brennan has got this secured. Now, can Robbie Staleford start pulling away? I tell you what, Tom O'Farrell is actually starting to press Max Edmondson, but he will be hoping, and I'm sure Robbie Staleford will be hoping that Tom O'Farrell can get up the inside. We have a car on the grass. Who is that? Is that Davey? Yes, it is Davey on the grass. So that is a disappointing start to his race. But 20 minutes to go. There's plenty of laps to do. This is a shortened lap of the Oulton Park circuit that we're all used to. So Davey has plenty of time to recover. Back in front of Tom O'Farrell, fourth place, perfect job. Simon Reed, James Haskell are battling each other. You know that those two guys will be only having eyes for themselves, but actually Tom O'Farrell is keeping up with Max Edmondson. So this could be having Max Edmondson's focus away from the front two and just solely focused on defending his third place.
Yeah, exactly that. Tom O'Farrell here really is showing, you've got to remember, that was in qualifying. These cars are now fully loaded up with fuel. You know, the tyres are probably not quite as hot as they should be. And actually, Tom O'Farrell seems to really have the car under him early on in this race. Robbie Stapleford, though, is increasingly looking all over the back of Jordan Brennan here, having the looks on the inside, swerving back over. This is all things that gets Jordan Brennan looking in that mirror, even though he's not going to go for them overtakes, just making Jordan not necessarily looking down the road and having that maximum concentration looking forward.
Yeah, when you start driving behind you, that's when the issues start arising. That's when the mistakes start getting made. We'll see how Jordan Brennan can deal with this pressure, but it is an absolutely tantalising setup here for the remaining 18 minutes, and then the second race of this final championship round of the BMW 235i Cup. You can see Max Edmondson there. He's sort of shaking Tom O'Farrell now. He'll be trying to make a gap, or to close that gap, should I say, to Robbie Stapleford. It'll be interesting to see, does Jordan Brennan just keep his pace up where he knows he can have it, or does he see Max Edmondson not too far away, just drops the pace? We were talking earlier, of course, by being stuck behind a car, maybe you can lose a good half a second a lap if you kill that flow, especially on the run up through here, or you think of the run down into what would be Shell Oils on the international circuit, and that could just bring Max right up to the forefront here.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm looking at the driving style here between Jordan Brennan and Robbie. Robbie's got that sort of smooth, get the car rotated early, blend on the power, let it sort of settle and get on it. Jordan Brennan, you can see, really actually just grabs the car, gets that front end rotated, but that's the sort of driving that might wear these tyres out a little bit more, and especially in these later stages of the race, Connell, might start to see them rear tyres start to lose the initial bite they've got, and that's where Robbie Stapleford needs to get that and have that pounce. As I say that, he does the opposite of what I said. Jordan Brennan being the tidy driver and Robbie Stapleford getting the back end out.
Robbie Stapleford was absolutely sideways there coming out of Old Hall. It was brilliant to see. If we get a still of that at some point, I'm sure that would be a wallpaper for Robbie Stapleford to have if all things go well in this race. But Max Edmondson there just starting to creep up on these two guys. But it's actually a great point you were saying there, Dave. I mean, you can actually visually see Jordan Brennan's car going down into Lodge Corner, diving. You can see the dive under the braking, and you couldn't really see that from Robbie Stapleford's car. He seems to just get that a bit earlier, turns it in, carries the corner speed, whereas Jordan Brennan is basically all on, 100% on or 100% off.
Yeah, definitely, and for certain cars that works, and I tell you what, it's worked for Jordan Brennan at the moment. Let's not take it away from him. He put it on pole, and at the moment he's half a second clear of Robbie Stapleford, and he has the fastest lap of the race at the moment by 0.2 of a second. So he's just gone and set fastest sector one time. But actually, this back section here, I've noticed Robbie Stapleford looks really good. Look at this, right on the back end. Jordan Brennan having to go middle of the road, slightly defensive. Robbie Stapleford now all over him. Is this where Jordan Brennan uses a little bit of them team tactics, almost just tries to slow the pace down a little bit, bring Max Edmondson back into this, and give Robbie Stapleford something to look backwards at?
Yeah, it looks as though like Jordan Brennan, if he is to slow up the pace and bring Max in, he's going to have to drop it a little bit by about another 2 or 3 tenths of a second, because they did 29/8 there going over the line, whereas Max Edmondson was unable to do that. He was the only driver in the top three to do a 30 flat. But of course, if you haven't been with us, they've shared the wins, haven't they, in the first 2 rounds. Of course, Croft, the first race of the season, first round of the season, the first race was won by Robbie Stapleford. Then in the reverse race, we had Jordan Brennan taking the victory there. Then pretty much reverse order there at Truxton. We had Jordan Brennan win the first race and Robbie Stapleford win the second. And then we had Snetterton there all but a week ago, where Robbie Stapleford was the first driver, and that is contact there. We have contact, and this is starting. We were talking about when would the fireworks start kicking off. I think it's just starting to kick off right now.
Yeah, definitely. And when I was on about before about Oulton Park, it's a track where you can basically overtake at every corner. Like, there's an opportunity there up the inside into an extremely fast corner, but the option's there. About the only place you can't do it's in the complex, which was at the point Robbie Stapleford was right on the back of Jordan Brennan. Coming down here into the last corner, you see Brendan hold that middle line there, holding Robbie Stapleford up. That doesn't allow him to carry as much apex speed. This is where Max Edmondson really needs to press on. He can see the starting to battle up ahead, needs to close that gap. Further back down the grid, though, we see Simon Reed extending his lead there over James Haskell, up to 1.7 seconds now over James. You know, this is looking good for Simon as well here. You know, Tom O'Farrell isn't getting too involved here with Simon Reed. It's just allowing Simon Reed to get that clean race, get his head down, drive within himself, and really open that lead up over James Haskell.
Yeah, I think this is absolutely perfect. Some clean air for Simon Reid. He's got his main championship protagonist there behind him, 1.7 seconds behind, as you say, and Tom O'Farrell, who is, of course, behind him in the championship, 20 points back, and he's only directly in front of him. So that is pretty much perfect here for Simon Reid. And yeah, it looks like the 71 on the car with number 16, my race number, so I might be a little bit biased towards Simon Reid. Having a great run, but you can see in the bottom right of your corner of your screen, Robbie Stafford is just pressing. He's got his lights on, maybe to reflect into Jordan Brennan's eyes a little bit of alternative tactics, shall we say. But you're so right with Robbie Stafford. The run he gets coming out of Druids is absolutely phenomenal. He looks as though he's going to make a pass, or he looks as though he's threatening a pass, but Jordan Brennan defends quite well. Now, interesting to note, actually, the last lap round they had dropped into the 30s. They had matched Max Edmondson's time, and visually it looks like Max Edmondson is closer this time around. Speaking of closer, Robbie Stableford is going to go around the outside here at Old Hall Corner. Jordan Brennan is going to show him the outside, no surprise there, but Robbie Stableford is going to keep it pinned, and he looks like he's going to have the inside down in the Cascades. He's going to get the pass done. Will he be able to hold it? It looks as though he's going to get it done. And wow, what a pass. He was shown the outside, he was shown onto the grass, yet he didn't even care.
No, that's exactly that. And I tell you what, the job's not done yet. Down into the hairpin, you can see Robbie Stiltford, a little bit of a bobble. Jordan Brennan here, will he get the cutback? It's incredibly hard in these cars. You can see right on the bumper, going into the complex, the place where I say, this is where it's really brave to overtake. If anything happens here, then fair play, boys. Jordan Brennan has a look around the outside. He's smart, though. But look at how much Max Edmondson's closed up with that little battle for what was that, half a lap, Connor?
Yeah, half a lap and half a second taken out. So Max Edmondson is in play. This will get very interesting if Jordan Brennan can find himself past Robbie Stableford again. Because now, as opposed to what it was there only a lap ago or 2 laps ago, Max Edmondson is there. And now Robbie Stableford is the man under pressure. He is the man with 2 Riggs Esports Racing Team cars directly behind him. He thinks he's got a concussion or something. He's going to see double here when he looks in his rear view mirror as he comes across the line. Almost half race distance now. And this is the first lap that Robbie Stableford is leading. And he's put in at 29.9. This is the chance for Robbie Stableford. He's got clean air. He really needs these first 2 laps to be great and to try and gap Jordan Brennan.
You know what, Connell? At this point, how much do you actually look in your rear view mirror?
Oh.
He's got that sort of 0.4 of a gap. You know, is Robbie going to be the driver that's constantly driving, keeping that eye on, maybe take his focus slightly off going forward? Or is he going, that's me, that's through, half a second gap, look ahead and just get my lines right, and that gap will open itself up?
Yeah, I think from experience, I'm glad that our bikes never had any rear view mirrors, but we did have pit boards. And basically, if I got myself through for the lead, I'd just get a pit board which would say qualifying laps, and that would be the mentality you'd be taking. You know, if you got that lead and then you broke them straight away, just broke the toe, broke the slipstream, broke their rhythm, you could find yourself just having that little bit of breathing room. Only a few laps into the time when you took the lead, and it can be so beneficial already. Robbie Stableford has taken half a second out of Jordan Brennan. Jordan Brennan trying to respond, brought it back to 0.4 of a second. You will see that gap to and fro, but that is just basically the accordion effect. We will only really get a good insight into the pace when they come over the line and we see their lap times. Max Edmondson is now a second behind, just struggling to keep on the pace now that Robbie is in front, and straight away we have the fast laps of the race. Robbie Stableford with 29.6, Jordan Brennan immediately responds with 29.5. It was only 2 laps ago that they were in the 30s, so that is a clear indication that Jordan was trying to back him up in the max.
Yeah, I mean, I can't quite believe what I'm seeing. Robbie Stableford gets through, puts in the fastest second sector out of anyone, but Jordan Brennan goes one better and puts in the fastest first sector of anyone and the fastest lap of the race. So, you know what, Jordan Brennan, he's a fighter. He isn't quite done with this yet. Stapleford within that 0.4 of a bracket. This is going to be that point where Jordan Brennan goes, "You're not getting away yet, Robbie. I'm still there in the championship battle. Let's go for it."
That's absolutely breathtaking stuff here, isn't it? I mean, this is what we want in the championship battle. We don't want like, you know, one in first and one in 15th, and we're doing the maths here. We just want the two of them at hammer and tongs, and look how quickly they've got Max. It just shows you. As soon as Robbie Stafford's got to the front, you know exactly what his intentions are. We talked about earlier about Robbie Stafford being a smooth driver, and then we seen him sideways. And if Robbie Stafford is making the car look aggressive, then you know he is on the absolute limits.
Yeah, I think we know these drivers are always on the limit of what they can sort of push the car to do. If you try and jump in these cars yourself and trying to pedal them as fast as what these boys are doing it takes some pedaling, I tell you that now. So, yeah, as we see Robbie Stapleford there going very, very wide. I don't know whether that's going to have cost him actually a bit of time there. It has indeed. Look, this is probably the closest Jordan Brennan's been this early on into the lap. We know Jordan is quick in this first part of the track, so if he can really get forward on the back of Robbie Stapleford here, he might be pulling himself back into this race and keeping himself in contention. And when I was saying about Robbie Stapleford is fast in the last sector, that lap just previous, Jordan Brennan the fastest last sector of anyone. So Jordan's starting to put this lap together now. Maybe it's just a bit of getting the car under him, settling them nerves, and, you know, having something to really strive for, like the back of Robbie's car.
Yeah, you can see there visually, this is just now 7 minutes to go, plus one lap. This is just a dogfight between the two championship protagonists, Max Edmondson. Born in a state from these guys, Max Edmondson is out of this battle and he is third place, nice and secure. But of course, don't forget, he will be starting a row ahead of these guys if the standings stay the way they do in the next race. So we will have a reverse grid, and then that will be interesting. How will Max Edmondson play? Will he back it up and try and just create a path almost for Jordan Brennan to get through? Although Oulton Park is quite narrow, might be a little bit difficult to actually work that out and coordinate it quite well. But we'll see what they do over the line. 29.3. I mean, these guys are almost dropping into the 28, Steve.
Yeah, I mean, 29.3 is what we saw Jordan Brennan do on his pole lap. Robbie was also on a 29.3, I must add. So Robbie, with race fuel and worn tyres, is already down to the quali pace he was at before. So extraordinary time there. Jordan not quite managing to match that. 2/10 back on the road, but that's not to say that pressure's coming off. You can see still half a second there, you know, and we talked about that reverse race. So far, throughout the season, Jordan Brennan, I'm not saying he's struggled, but he just hasn't got through the pack like Robbie Stapleford. Robbie Stapleford really has gone through like a hot knife through butter, really has got through the grid very quickly, got all the hard work done when the pack is really bunched up, allowing him to pull away, and unfortunately Jordan Brennan has been stuck in that mid-pack, can't get quite through quite as quickly.
Yeah, we've seen that throughout the course of the season. It might be a little bit different when he knows that, right, this is it. You know, there is no next race. And as we see, actually, Lawrence Davey has got ahead, you know, the inside of Thorpe, and you can see quite a bent front end on that car. But Lawrence Davey doing a good job, not returning to the pits, dealing with what he's got, and he's promoted himself up another position, and that is another championship point. So, yeah. It's Lawrence Davey having a good example, setting a good example of why you should just keep motoring on instead of piling, especially in a 20-minute race like this.
Yeah, definitely. You know, we saw him have that really quite a big moment out of the bottom of the third corner, a little bit wide on the grass, lost the back end, was lucky not to spin it, did very good there with the car control not to spin it. And yeah, as you say, kept it going. It looks like he's hit something really quite hard from that front end, quite a bit of significant damage, but doesn't really seem to be affecting the car that much. You know, these cars, as I say, they're getting very loose and sideways over the crest there. It just shows these cars are, you know, quite loose and quite playful. But yeah, these cars aren't massively aero-based. They don't really have that much front downforce, and you can see there's no big split. As we see there, Lawrence Davey into the wall. As I was saying that, a huge moment there, doing very well not to come back across the track into Simon Thorpe. Maybe that car isn't Some would say firing on all cylinders, but I definitely don't think it's tracking straight there.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it's too fun to drive at the minute, especially when it's been crunched into a wall twice. But that's unfortunate for Lawrence Davey. He does all the hard work. What was that? Almost 17 minutes of work there, trying to get position back and trying to catch Thorpe. And then it comes all unglued coming out of Old Hall, 2 corners after he gets the pass done. So that is how you say the joys of racing.
Well, the joy of racing is provisionally he's going to be on pole next race.
Yeah, well, maybe that's a tactic. Judging by the way he's driving now, I don't quite think it is, because he's having a bit of a nightmare with the damage of that car right now. Elsewhere, we have Simon Reid here, unable to match the pace of Tom O'Farrell, but that is okay. A-okay for his championship challenge. He is going to be pretty.
I tell you what is interesting though, Connell, I've just noticed James Haskell posting lap times 3/10 faster than Simon Reid. So for all Simon Reid's had that initial pace, is he starting to go through his tyres? Is he starting to go off that sort of, initial push marker? And is this really something that we can see developing in race 2 with how much pace James Haskell actually does have?
Yeah, it's really interesting. Of course, we have some drivers who come good later in the races, as we know in any form of motorsport. We have these racers who come out from straight from the box are absolutely flying, whereas others take a little bit of time to get used to things. I think when it comes to sim racing and racing, in this sort of series, you need to be strong. I mean, Stapleford and Brennan are showing that you need to be strong from the first lap, especially with only 20 minutes of track time, which isn't a long time in the grand scheme of things. It's very important to be strong from the start, but people maybe just getting used to the full time after qualifying. Maybe when the second race hits, they'll have that experience with the full tank around this track. As we see Jordan Brennan now, just when you start thinking maybe Robbie Safeford has his number, Jordan Brennan sets a lap time 1:29.274, and that was 4/10 quicker than Robbie Safeford's lap last time around.
Wow, that is pushing, isn't it? That is absolutely flying. You can see Brennan there using every bit of track there. He's gained half a second now on Robbie Sturtford. This isn't done and dusted yet, Connell. Jordan Brennan here is really pushing.
Oh, you can see how he took that. That was probably the perfect, you like the basic racing line is that wide sweeping line, but for that hairpin, that was a perfect V. You could see that he was just released. As soon as he released the brake, he was whacking it back on the throttle. No wasted time, no neutral throttle. That was absolute perfection. He is on the limits here. You can see the body language of the car, and he's bringing that gap down just ever so slightly. It's going to be difficult for him though, because he has run out of time. You can see at the top of the screen 55 seconds plus 1 lap, so realistically 2 laps to go for Jordan Brennan trying to close down Robbie Stabeford.
I don't know whether you think the same here, Connell, with your racing in British Superbike and the likes. If you're given a lap time and you say, right, you've got 20 minutes to go and overtake that guy, for some reason, when you actually look at it and go, well, you've got about 14 laps to overtake, for some reason, 14 laps seems a lot less than 20 minutes.
Yeah, definitely. I've experienced that myself, and especially when you get a lap time like that and you see 20 minutes to go, that's 100%. And then you actually do a lap and you go, I've only 14 of these.
Yeah,
it's you start feeling that sort of the drowning feeling of pressure overwhelming you. But it's not too good whenever you get a pit board and you get a time that the rider behind maybe or the driver behind is doing that is closing you down, and you go, I'm on the limits 3/10 slower than that. What's going on here?
So quick question: how much is this going to eat into Robbie Sturtford's mental state going into race 2, knowing that Brennan has got that, extra little bit of performance there, that little bit of extra time?
Yeah, it's definitely going to play a part. I will say though that Robbie in this race, I can't speak for his approach in the second race, but in this race, don't think he'd be too devastated with a second place. He knows that 2 second places in these races is all that he needs, and he knows, as you were saying earlier, that he has been stronger in the reverse grid races. So while he is desperate, of course, to win this and make it even more difficult for Jordan Brennan in the second race, I don't think it'll be panic stations if Jordan Brennan can close this gap. But it looks as though Robbie Safeford is just doing enough. as we come across the line to start the final lap. He has definitely responded to Jordan Brennan's time, 29.5 and 29.4, only a tenth quicker with a second gap. That will not be enough. He needs to be really, within 3 or 4 tenths to then even try and think of a move.
Yeah, he does really, and you're exactly right what you said before. It's all well and good, like being faster on them laps, as we see John Brennan there running extremely wide at the bottom of Cascades. It's all well and good being that faster, but it's another thing to use that pace to actually get through past that driver. That's another whole boat of stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, and we can see here, we've seen Jordan Brand set the fast lap of the race, but those few laps when Robbie Seaford first made the pass were crucial, really, weren't they? Jordan was just unable to get into that quicker rhythm too early. He was trying to back him up into Max Edmondson. They did a 30, 1 minute 30.2, and then whenever Robbie Seaford made that pass, he went boom, straight on the time, straight down into mid 29s. And that was the difference maker. Those first few laps of Robbie Seaford's lead has got him this victory, or has it 7 tenths of a second is the gap. And we see a back market car won't play any factor as Lawrence Davey, bringing up the rear with the damage that we have seen. Robbie Seaford looks as though he has it done, just a clean exit coming out of here, and he has this race done. So race 1 of this final round at Oulton Park of the BMW 235i series goes to Robbie Seaford.
Yeah, fantastic performance, wasn't it? And I dare say, is that just a case of, for me, a little bit of consistency was key there?
Yeah, I think so. Those first 2-3 laps of him leading, every other lap you could say that Brennan was either matching him or was actually quicker than him. And we've seen, of course, Jordan Brennan having the fastest lap of the race. So yeah, I think those first 2, maybe even 3 laps that Robbie got ahead, he was just quicker to the quicker rhythm.
Yeah, definitely. And it's going to be really good to get a bit of an insight from the guys down when we go and interview them. But, if I'm going to throw you under the bus here, drive with the race there, Connell?
Oh, yeah, that's a tough one. I think, with all the championship pressure that was happening there, I think Robbie Seaford coped with it absolutely brilliantly. Didn't really see many mistakes from him. Seen him absolutely sideways coming out of Old Hall. But I think the underrated drive there went to Tom O'Farrell in 4th place.
Yeah, you know what? Actually, for all he wasn't mentioned that much in the stream, Tom O'Farrell, really strong drive there, sitting in 4th place. I'm really impressed, actually. Held good pace, kept his gap to Edmondson, within reason, just kept it on the black stuff and pulled a gap over Simon Reed, who has proven to have the slight bit more pace and consistency throughout the season. So great drive so far by Tom.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. And fortunately enough, we have the 3 podium men. We'll start off with Max Edmondson first, Dave.
There, Connell. So we jump down to the comms box with Max Edmondson. 3rd place, you had to cope with 3rd place in qualifying. You put it towards 3rd place in race 1 as well, so it's a really good championship haul, isn't it?
Yeah, just obviously had quite a clean start, and just obviously Robbie and Jordan were faster than me, so they just drove off. They had a little bit of a battle, caught up to them, but they just drove off again. So I wasn't as fast as I would like to be, but obviously hope I can just get back to the front race too.
Yeah, well, we actually picked up the fact that Tom O'Farrell was looking actually sort of particularly racy in the early parts of that race. I mean, he was definitely making his lights known, wasn't he? And he was right up behind you at the start of that race.
Yeah, I think he had the pace to obviously get past me, to be fair, but I think he made a few mistakes, and I just gapped him and just kept it consistent from there.
Well, it's a great performance in race 1, Max. Good luck in race 2. We know Oulton kick off in the reverse race, so I'll let you get your head down, and good luck for race 2, mate.
Cheers.
We move on to our P2. Fastest lap of the race, needless to say, with a ridiculous lap time. But Jordan Brennan there with the 2nd place, just not quite enough to get Robbie Staleford to the line, was it?
No, I just made a few mistakes though, and he just caught back up to the back of me. I don't know. I probably had the pace to win that, but I just threw it away.
Yeah, I mean, it looks to me that consistency is a bit of key, and for all you had that outright pace, maybe Robbie had the slight bit more consistent outright pace just to help you pull away a little bit. But that's needless to say. Phenomenal performance, Jordan, and anything can happen in this reverse race, can't it? As you've probably found out previous in other seasons.
Yeah, let's hope it goes well and stay out of trouble, unlike Snett. So we'll just see what happens.
Well, good luck, Jordan, and good luck for race 2.
Cheers, thanks.
And on to our P1 finisher. Not quite enough to put it on pole, but I tell you what, you made it count in race 1 when it mattered. You seem to be hanging back behind Jordan a little bit, but it was calculated, and when you got the job done, there was no looking back. Well done, Robbie.
Cheers, Dave. Yeah, just saw where I was making mistakes, and then just started to make mistakes before I got the job done. And then going into the first corner, just got it around the outside and got the job done, and then just started to pull a gap. And then just started to maintain the pace from there, really. And then he was just going for fastest lap after that, and it was just getting quicker and then slowly gaining. But yes, we still got first. That was good.
Yeah, I mean, we noticed how quick you were down the back section of the track, coming into especially the fast double right-hander and then into the last corner. That's the moment where you really was starting to close right onto the back of John. I take that was a place where you'd marked that, you seem to have that little bit of an edge on him.
Yeah, I definitely feel like I was stronger in the last sector, definitely, just in coming out of the chicane, not really losing the rear end as much coming out of the chicane, and then just seemed to gain it from there, and then he just started to make mistakes.
So I've got to ask before race 2, you've gone through the pack in the previous races in the season, like Oulton through butter. I like that saying, but it is true. You have gone through particularly quickly. Joe Brennan has got through, but maybe a little bit more cautiously. Here you've seen he's got a little bit of that pace. He's got a 10th on you up the road. Is that at all a worry, or is it just head down and you've got your championship to sort of lose here? So are you going to allow it to just sort of follow him through, and is that the mentality?
Probably follow him through, keep as close to him as I can, and hopefully it all comes at the end and it works out. So.
Well, good luck, Robbie, and I'll let you get your head down for race 2, and hopefully we'll be speaking to you after the race.
Cheers, Dave.
A little bit despondent signing Jordan Brennan. He knows that it's made his race, his second race, a little bit more complicated there. 10 points now the gap.
Yeah, you know what? I think you're right there. Jordan Brennan's probably a little bit like, that was maybe my chance to sort of close that gap a little bit, and instead it's actually opened the gap by 2 points with him getting fastest lap. He hasn't quite, got the full 3 points there, but yeah, a little bit of a kick in the teeth there, but reverse race, it's all still to play for in my mind. We've seen these races have a complete role reversal, so I think it's all to play for.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen there with our now poleman, Lawrence Davey, with a bit of damage. We've seen after the first bit of damage just how sort of nervous the car was and how difficult it was to drive. So, a little bit of bumping and boring here early on in such a tight track, you think about it, it's going to be a very difficult challenge for these guys. But here we go. Championship decider, 20 minutes plus 1 lap. Robbie Stafford, Jordan Brennan at the back of the grid, Lawrence Davey on pole, 6 lights are on, revs are on. And we have a jump start. Is that a jump start for Simon Reed? I think that is a jump start, and that could be absolutely disastrous for his championship challenge. So that at least you would think would clear the path one by one car. We have a little bit of contact here, and that looked as though that was James Haskell. So both guys going for 4th in the championship have actually just imploded.
Yeah, they have indeed. I mean, that is absolutely catastrophic there for James Haskell. He needs to get that car going, because I believe Simon Reed will probably receive a drive-through penalty there for it. So this is actually going to probably bring Simon Reed and James Haskell right now, both in the pack at the same time. Who's that having a little bit of nudge on Max Edmondson? This is getting incredibly tight in the hairpin, but more at the point, Jordan Brennan at the moment ahead of Robbie Stapleford. I tell you what, it's been an action-packed start, that.
Been half a lap and already Max Edmonds' car looks like it's been through a can crusher. It's been absolutely crazy. We've seen Lawrence Davey there in the background coming out of Cascades, was actually sideways and coming back across the track. So the 2 championship protagonists, very, very lucky not to be caught up in that, and very lucky not to be caught up in a few accidents there, because it was quite scrappy. But elsewhere we have Kenny Preston in the lead, Max Edmonds in 2nd, Tom O'Farrell 3rd, Jordan Brennan in 4th, with a car between him with Simon Reed 5th. but that won't last too long due to the jump start. Robbie Safeford in 6th, and he looks like he's going to try and make a move up the inside. Does he get it done? Yes. So without the drive-through penalty that we will surely see, Robbie Safeford will be okay. And yes, surely Simon Reid is about to take that right now. So Robbie Safeford directly behind Jordan Brennan. If Robbie Safeford stays 5th or 4th, and Jordan Brennan is able to gap the field and get his way up through the field and win this race, that means Jordan Brennan takes the championship by a nose hair. Whereas if Robbie Safeford finishes anywhere inside the top 3, it is his championship for the season. You can see Jordan Brennan going to the outside, Tom O'Farrell blocking the inside, and this must be so frustrating for Jordan Brennan. He's going to go right the outside, he's going to go wide into the grass, and that is not what he needed. You can see he was getting frustrated behind Tom O'Farrell. Tom O'Farrell completely in his right to do his own race and try and defend his podium spot, and now he's under pressure from the other championship antagonist, Robbie Stapleford.
Yeah, I mean, actually, to be fair, Tom O'Farrell has made Robbie Stiltford's job too hard there. Almost breaking a bit early, letting Robbie get the run. Jordan Brennan there just catching a little wheel on the outside on that grass, just locking up a brake and forcing him to go straight on. But further back on the field, look at this, Simon Reid came up just in front of James Haskell there. James Haskell can probably see the back of Simon Reid's bumper, which he probably didn't think he was going to be able to see this early on in the race. Lawrence Davey looking 6th place. We've seen that maybe he didn't have quite the initial pace. Is he going to have, any sort of effect here, holding up Simon Reid, bringing James Haskell right back into it? But as we see, Max Edmondson going up the inside of Kenny Press. Kenny Press, I've got to say, having a great race here in the reverse grid race. Car looking nice and pristine, not getting too involved in the main championship battle. But I tell you what, holding his own in 2nd place. Oh, as I say that, the commentator's curse going wide on the grass. Is he going to manage to keep that on track? I believe he has, but he has dropped down to 5th place there. And look, Robbie Stiltford, like I called it in earlier, already up to 2nd place, hot knife through butter.
Yeah, you mentioned it in the first race, and you're so correct. Jordan Brennan is still struggling to get ahead of Tom O'Farrell. It doesn't look as though Tom O'Farrell is going to have the pace to catch the front 2. So, even if Jordan Brennan does get past Tom O'Farrell, and then it catches the front 2, really, Robbie Stiltford can let the 2 Riggs Esports Racing guys go 1st and 2nd, and Robbie Stiltford can still manage to pull out the victory and the championship victory. So he's in a very advantageous position right now. Jordan Brennan is the guy under pressure. You can hear after the first race, he said it himself, he threw that away. He felt as though he had the pace to win that race, and surely he feels as though he has the pace to win this race also, and he's going to go around the outside down into Lodge, coming out of Deers Leave, and that is scary stuff here. He's going around the outside again, almost onto the grass. Tom O'Farrell is really making life difficult for Jordan Brennan here, and he's going to get very frustrated. I think we'll see quite an aggressive move if he does get the pass done. And we've seen him coming out of Druids, of course, getting the run down into Lodge. But he just couldn't get his way through, and he's on the grass, and they're going to make contact, they're going to bit of rubbing his racing and whatnot, just normal stuff here at the Virtual Reality Racing Club.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about you, Connell, there, but I thought that was imminent sort of sideways into the door of Tom O'Farrell. I tell you what, Tom O'Farrell here is putting on exactly how to defend, putting your car exactly where you don't want it to be, forcing Jordan wide here and there, making this really quite hard for Jordan to get past. I'm sure we're going to see the flash of lights starting to happen. But further back on the grid, look, James Haskell up into 5th place, Simon Reid down in 7th. Oh, there's actually been a change in position there. James Haskell back down on the grid. I tell you what, things are definitely happening further back as well.
Yeah, Lawrence Davey not giving up that position too easy. We've seen him have an absolute disaster of a race, really, I have to say, in the first race, and he is fired up for the second race, and now Haskell is ahead of Reid, but not by much. I'm sure both guys, both Haskell and Reid, as we see Jordan Brennan on the stands, has finally got past Tom O'Farrell into 3rd position, so we'll see what he can do to that gap to Robbie Stiltford. That's 4.2 seconds. That is big gap here with not too long of this race to go, as we see James Haskell sideways coming out of Druids, gets the run. Will he be able to get a pass into Lodge? But I'm sure both guys, Dave, when talking about Haskell and Reid, when they had both the jump start and then the mistake when they came out beside each other on the second lap, they must have been very confused. They must have been kicking themselves really, because they could have been so far further up the order.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I think it's. I mean, you can't obviously write it,
Oh.
but for James Haskell getting a huge slide there, 3 abreast going down to Oscar Cascade, this is not going to end well.
This is not going to end well. We can see Lawrence Davey getting spun around now by James Haskell. And James Haskell spun around himself. So Simon Reed is going to have a huge gap over these two guys. And now it looks as though Simon Thorpe is going to get past James Haskell. Or will he? James Haskell gets it hooked back up and he's on the drive again. He's on the tarmac. And yes, Simon Thorpe does get ahead of James Haskell. And this is not good for his championship challenge on Simon Reed, of course. Those two guys are battling for fourth in the championship. Meanwhile, back at the front, Max Edmondson really under pressure. We've seen this pretty much around the same time in race 1. Robbie Safer was just putting the leader under pressure, although it's a different leader this time around. He said he didn't feel like he had the pace in the first race to Brennan and Stableford, but it looks as though he has a good bit of pace now. We'll see when we come across the line. It looks as though with the way he's defensively driving though, that it is going to be a 130. I'll be surprised if it is a 129. Yes, indeed, 130.1, 130.1, and Jordan Brennan 29.4. So almost 0.8 of a second taken out of this leading group. So you'd have to say for sure that Max Edmondson is trying his best as his teammate to do the Jordan Brennan a huge favour.
Yeah, and if I'm truly honest, I think Max Edmondson's probably going to want the win for himself. You know, for all he's probably want to try and, you know, help Jordan Brennan get on the back of here, he'll be thinking, you know what, this is my race to lose. I'm in first place, Robbie's behind us. I maybe don't have the pace, but you know what, 11 minutes left the race. Let's see if Robbie can find his way through. Max Edmondson, you know, a go-karter in the past. Robbie Stiltford, also a karter in the past. Both these lads know exactly how it works when it comes to karting and how to defend and how to push people on. And, you know, I think we're going to definitely see 2 karting lads going hammer and tong right to the end here.
Yeah, it's a great point you made. At what point does Max Edmondson look at the gap to Jordan Brennan and look at time remaining on the clock and go, you know what? You know, I've done my bit. This is now my race. This is my time. And I think we are seeing it here, but Jordan Brennan is indeed closing the gap. We'll see a defensive line into Lodge coming down to start another lap, and surely we'll see Jordan Brennan into the 29s again. He looks, he is absolutely on it. And Stableford now looks as though he has the inside line. It doesn't look like Max Edmondson can cut across. The Stableford has put his car there, and that is the lead for Robbie Stableford. And he has held it. He's got the run. Will he be able to hold the inside line and not make a mistake down into Cascades? But he has the advantage. He has the inside line. Max Edmondson looking to go around the outside, hook it back up, and maybe get the run. Doesn't get it. He's on the grass. He's going for a bit of motocross as he do a bit of rallycross. So it would be on 4 wheels. And Robbie Stableford now has the lead. And surely this is him released. And we will probably see the same thing as we've seen in the first race. A couple of qualifying laps put in from Robbie Stableford to try and break these 2 Race Esports racing cars.
Yeah, I'm quite surprised there that Max Edmondson didn't go more defensive into turn 1. You know, he got the drive out the last corner. Robbie seemed to maybe catch him a little bit going up the hill, but he still was clear enough to get across in front of Robbie Stiltford there. So really surprised not to see Max defend that, allowing Robbie up the inside. Robbie just carried that over speed into turn 1, ran it a little bit wide, but it was job done. Side by side down the hill with Max Edmondson, put Max on the outside line. As far as Robbie's concerned, job done. He's got the pace over Max Edmondson. Get his head down, stop looking in his mirror. And I tell you what, touch wood, and I'm not going to commentator's curse this, I hope, but this is looking like Robbie Stiltford has got the championship posted and sealed.
Yeah, he's certainly in a great position at the minute. We'll see, does Max Edmondson get the Fernando is faster than you message here from the team? We'll see if he will let Jordan Brennan through, or he'll go, look, you know, your championship seems like it's all but over, so I'm going to take the second place, thank you very much. Elsewhere, Tom O'Farrell isn't a million miles back, 3.5 seconds, so if these guys get involved into a bit of a scrap and have a bit of a Hamlin-Rosberg at Catalonia, Tom O'Farrell could be profiting from it. But I mean, I have to say, first and foremost, as Jordan Brennan does indeed get that pass quite easy from Max Edmondson, and now he's been released to try and hunt down Robbie Stableford. even if this looks as though Little Flash the lights to go, yep, I told you I'd let it through. Even if Jordan Brennan is almost giving up a little bit on the championship here, knowing that Robbie Safeford needs a second, pride. There is still pride with these racers, and Jordan Brennan is desperate to end the season with a victory.
Oh yeah, it's all about pride. I know drivers say, you know, they like a nice trophy on the mantle place, or you know, a nice bit of extra cash in the bank account. That's all nice, but realistically, back in that mind, it's all about, you know what, I beat him, and that's sort of what it's about, really, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. But on a personal note, Dave, I mean, what a race! What a two races I have to be exposed to VRRC. I mean, this is obviously my debut here with this fantastic community. I mean, you know, I was looking earlier on, doing my research, doing my homework, and I was looking up with the future series coming up. Of course, we have League of Champions 2, which I presume Dave will give you a little bit more info on. But I mean, as a debut, I don't think I've found anything better than here, the 235i Championship decider, Oulton Park.
Yeah, I mean, you've chose one hell of an event to come and do your debut for the commentary, you know, here at the 235i Cup. It's, you know, a relatively small grid in comparison to what we usually do, but, you know, it's a slightly smaller championship that we've held, ready for the bigger championships. You know, I think the League of Champions prize pool now is £20,000, which I think if you look round on other esports communities, to have a prize fund of 20,000, and this is the thing that's really different, you know. With League of Champions, it's not just the top finishers that are rewarded. You know, you've got first, second, fourth, fifth place all get prizes, but as well a race at the end of the season for everyone who's competing in the league that hasn't finished in fifth goes and does another final race. It was C. Edmondson there showing his skills off with a huge drift, pausing me mid-League of Champions spiel. Yeah, so a decider race at the end for all the drivers that haven't finished in fifth place, and allows them for another draw of prizes. You know, it's not just for them boys who are right at the top of the game and spend hours and hours and hours on it every day. This is a championship that anyone can enter at any level and really have a good chance of coming away with at least something.
Yeah, that is absolutely fantastic. You got me hyped for it, David, and I'm participating, and it was absolutely fantastic stuff. I mean, you talk about the £20,000 prize pool, and you don't think, you look around sim racing, you don't see it there in any other communities. But I've raced in real life championships that don't offer £20,000 prize pools, so you know that sounds very, very appealing. And looking back at previous, you know, if you go to the YouTube, the VRRC YouTube, you can look back at the previous races. There's been some cracking action there. Obviously, fantastic battles going on, and this is my first exposure to obviously commentating on VRRC, but looking at the YouTube videos. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to do some historical research for my own entertainment.
Well, you know what? I'm sure we'll be more than willing to have you back in the comms box and even on the grid if you fancy it there, Connell. So, yeah, it'd be great to get you involved more with VRRC. But, yeah, as I say, you know, VRRC's put me in good stead. You know, I've come up through the ranks of the championships as a driver, and luckily enough now at the point where Rich has took us on as the esports manager here. So, helping run things in that department, but also prior to that, I won 2 mini E-series where, you know, it's actually got us in the real car this year for 2 rounds of the Mini Cooper Championship. So, you know, without Sim Race and VRRC, you know, I wouldn't have been able to achieve my dreams this year. So, really an excellent championship to be part of, as well as some excellent products with our new rigs launch, which is simulator chassis that are a little bit different to the likes of the Sim Labs and the other products like that. You know, you can have a black, red, or blue chassis is the off-the-shelf colours. But if you really want Connell, you can go and put your shade of pink from your pillars in and get a chassis done in your own pink colour.
Phenomenal. I'll have to get in my own team colours there. It's yeah, I mean, that's sort of customization.
It might be Kawasaki green for you, might it?
Yeah. We'll see whatever the new bike is, and it'll just be whatever that is, whatever colour that bike is, that will be mine. But yeah, that customization just gives you just so much more of a personal click with it, and I think it's a perfect example to rub it in the faces of the people who say, "Oh, it's just a game." You're the perfect example, going from sim racing to actually getting a taster of some in real life races. That's absolutely phenomenal. That's great context to how great this community is.
Yeah, cheers for that, Connell. And honestly, I'm really proud of where VRRC is at the moment, and we really do think we're offering something that other sim championships struggle to offer regarding our prize pools and our community. So, yeah, it's onwards and upwards. But anyway, Connell, back to the main issue of tonight. This championship battle, Robbie Staleford still with a nearly a 2.5 second gap here over Jordan Brennan. I reckon it's going to be a long shot now for Brennan, for Robbie Staleford to throw this away and Jordan to get the championship win.
Yeah, it looks as though both drivers haven't really been able to match the extreme pace of Jordan Brennan's 29.2 from the first race. Maybe a little bit of aero damage or something to that effect. As we see, is that Lawrence Davey?
Davey.
Yes, it is. So he has obviously got into a bit of an issue, and hopefully press those brakes. Let the leaders three do not take out Robbie Stapleford right now. 2.5 minutes to go. Please don't get involved in this. That would be one of the cruelest things I've ever seen. But Lawrence Davey knows this stuff, and he didn't get involved in that good stuff. 1.8 second is the gap right now. You would have to think that Robbie Stapleford isn't trying to do anything too wildly. He sit there. He did a last lap of 29.5. 3/10 off the fast lap of the round so far that we have seen set in the first race by Jordan Brennan. Jordan Brennan, well, he always looks quick, but he looks extra racy right now. It looks as though he is trying desperately to close down Robbie Stapleford. And even though he can see his championship slipping away, he will still be hungry for that race win.
Yeah, he will indeed. And looking there, Jordan Brennan, a 1:29.3 last lap. Robbie Staleford at 29.8, so nearly half a second faster, Jordan Brennan than Robbie Staleford. But unfortunately, it's a bit too much too late. The championship stands. Robbie Staleford can quite happily finish behind Jordan Brennan here, and it'll still be job done. So Robbie Staleford, through being consistent throughout the season, consistent through the races, and in this championship, it's just been enough just to keep that competitive edge over Jordan Brennan and provisionally taking away this overall championship.
Yeah, and elsewhere you can see here 3 and 4, and the man who's had some stellar drives. Unfortunately, in the first race we didn't see much of him because we were absolutely glued to the front and glued to the championship battle. Of course, Tom O'Farrell. Here he is with quite a destroyed car. Looks very crumpled here, doesn't it? He's got up to a lot of action, but Tom O'Farrell having a stellar drive here. Now, of course, Tom O'Farrell coming into this round was 8th in the championship, 46 points. And really, just out of contention. Not a guy you would pick as a guy that would be pushing 3rd in the championship, Max Evanson. So a fantastic drive here from Tom Farrell. He has found pace, hasn't he, this round?
Yeah, I'm just trying to check back. I'm fair sure Tom O'Farrell didn't even compete in round 1. So that really shows, how competitive he's been since he's come out here in the community. He's only done 3 rounds. He could find himself up in that sort of fifth and 6th position in the championship overall. And what could have been if he competed in the first round of the championship, he could have been holding his own here against Simon Reed, who provisionally's got himself 4th place in the championship.
Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic stuff, and all the more impressive that he missed the first round and is still somewhat within contention for the top 5 in the championship. And it looks as though he's been not quite a match for Max Evanson, but very, very close, because Max Evanson has had his number so far in the first race, has had his number in the second race, but Tom O'Farrell at 1.4, he's closing that gap down, and it's a case of what could have been really with Tom O'Farrell, isn't it?
It is a bit, and you know what, it's a bit of a shame to see actually, but I'm sure he'll be happy with the performances he's put on here, to come away and put his stamp on it. I mean, look, he's only 1.2 seconds back here from Max Edmonds, a driver that we've seen as a consistent front runner in VRRC championships, and Tom O'Farrell is really holding his own here and actually starting to close the gap on Max. So really, a stellar drive from Tom O'Farrell. and he has to be one of the contentions for driver of the day, just with his consistency, his pace. And you know what? It was a really good race start for race 2 as well. Getting his elbows out a little bit, but not too much, but racing super hard, super clean, and really entertaining to watch.
Yeah, watching that first lap, I felt like I'd done a cardio workout there because I was just out of breath because there was just too much going on. There was spins, there was clatters into each other, and there was dive bombs and block passes. It was absolutely phenomenal stuff, and it really does show why reverse grid racing is just so exciting. It really is fantastic to see. Elsewhere, we are on our final lap. You can see in the bottom right hand corner, you can see Jordan Brennan closing that to almost within a second. But it is not going to be enough. Half a lap to go, unless Robbie Seaford makes a mistake or does a thing that we would never expect and let Jordan Brennan through because he feels bad for him. But no, he's a racer. Of course he's not. He's going to take this win.
Even then, it still would mean he wins the championship.
Yeah.
There's not really any point.
Yeah, Robbie Seaford, no sympathy here. This is racing, and this is drivers who are very, very competitive. Robbie Seaford now coming out of Druids with fantastic spot for photographers if you ever go to Oulton Park, coming down into Lodge Corner, and what a championship season that he has put together. He shared wins in the first 2 rounds with Jordan Brennan. 1 and 2 they went, but he done the double at Saturn, and he's going to do the double for the championship here. Robbie Seaford is your champion.
Yeah, stellar drive there from Robbie Sturtleford, and you can see by the way he's driving, I think he's reasonably chuffed with that, isn't he, Connell?
Yeah, you'd be a little bit happy, wouldn't you? I'm sure we're going to see quite a bit of a cheerier interview post-race here than we did in race 1, because of course the tension was still there leading into the second race. Jordan Brennan, of course, he'll be disappointed, but what a season he's had too. I mean, to push Robbie Sturtleford all the way and bring it right down to the last few laps of a season, you can't really be too disappointed with yourself there.
No, definitely not. And you know what? 4 races for a championship. It's quite a short championship, but I tell you what, 4 championships, 8 races, and you come away with £100. How can you complain with that, Connor?
Yeah, not bad there, is it? I mean, say again, I've come away with less in certain championships. I'll not name them, but yeah, I've come away with less. But James Hoskey comes over the line now in 6th place. You would presume that barring any post-race incidents, that Simon Reid would have that 5th place in the championship, or 4th place in the championship, I should say, wrapped up, as we see Simon Thorpe coming across the line in 7th, and we should see Press now in that number 12 car a few seconds coming down the road. But of course, we're going to speak to our top 3 from that race, and our top 3 in the championship, of course. Fantastic driving from all 3. I suppose, David, we'll start off again with 3rd place Max Edmondson.
I'm going to have to actually throw you under the bus here, Connell. I'm going to actually go to 4th place in the championship, just as a bit of an outsider. Simon Reid, it's probably the best performance we've seen you have in a VRRC community. Provisionally 4th place in the championship with another stellar drive here today at Oulton Park. So congratulations, and yeah, I bet that's a bit of a surprise.
Well, thank you very much, Dave. Yeah, it was a bit of a surprise to finish 5th again, especially after my false start at the beginning. I had to do a drive-through penalty, but yeah, there's a bit of a tangle, I think, between James and Lawrence, and it's all sort of played into my hands again.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to ask about the jump start. Was that a case of just trying to sort of guess where it was going to go green, or was it a case of just a slight slip on the paddle and into first and away you went?
Yeah, just a bit of an itchy trigger finger, really. It just felt like the red lights have been on forever.
Well, that's one way to put it, Simon, but huge congratulations there with provisional 4th in the BMW 235i Cup Championship, and hopefully see you in future VRRC events, and the onwards increase in points.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dave. Yeah, I'm gonna keep practicing, and hopefully I'll be up there on the podium more often.
Spot on, Simon. Congratulations. On to our championship P3, Max Edmondson. You know what? You held your own there in race 2. You held Robbie for a good time behind you, but it just wasn't quite enough, was it? He got the slightest run on up the hill, over the crest towards the finish line, just gave him the inside line into turn 1.
Yeah, obviously I had a quite a clean start. I was hoping Robbie would get held up because I know he's faster on this track. I was hoping he would get held up, but he got past everyone quite fast. I knew he was going to get past me. I just matter of time, wasn't it? So I just had to defend as long as I could, but he got past. So.
Yeah, well, as I said, it was a really good defensive drive from on screen. It was just that slight little overlap which gave him the lead there. But you know what? You've been a stellar drive all season there, Max, and congratulations with coming away with P3 in the championship.
Cheers.
And on to P2, Jordan Brennan just unfortunately not quite enough to give Robbie Stapleford there a run towards the end.
No. I couldn't get through the traffic fast enough. Tom, he was really well at defending, to be fair, in that. I just struggled getting past him, but that's in Robbie and Max were battling, so I was like, let's just get my head down and see what I can do. But yeah, it just wasn't enough.
Yeah, we did actually notice Tom O'Farrell put up a particular hard bit of aggression and really made it quite hard for you to try and get through there. You know, fair play to Tom O'Farrell, great defensive drive, but you did enough and you actually brought it back to within 2 seconds there at the end. But phenomenal drive there, Jordan, and really showed how you can handle a BMW around Oulton Park, which turns out rather sideways. So congratulations there, Jordan, and congrats with P2 in the championship.
Cheers, thanks.
And on to our P1 finisher. I was just having a look there throughout the championship, Robbie Stapleford. The highest points finisher in every single round. It's no wonder you're our championship leader, really.
Well, yeah, it's been a really good season. I guess it just shows you don't need to be the quickest to win races, I guess.
Well, yeah, that is true, but what it does show is consistency, and a point haul is key, and you've done that every single round. Even though you've had your occasional little spins and hits with other drivers, you know, you've fought back and you've still brought home the points, which is an absolute phenomenal effort there, really. So huge congratulations with P1 in the championship. I hope you enjoy your £100 spending money.
Yeah, sure will.
And we'll hope to see you back in the VRRC championships in the future, mate, for our bigger prize pools and bigger championships.
Yeah, it's been really good, Dave. Cheers. Hopefully looking forward to the League of Champions too soon.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be all announced in the very coming days regarding the details for that. So everyone will be informed, including the drivers. And yeah, we're all looking forward to it, I think.
Yeah, sounds good. See you soon. Cheers, Dave.
Thanks, Robbie. Cheers.
Yeah, and certainly I am looking forward to it as well. If you want to get involved, in League of Champions too, if you want to get involved with the Virtual Reality Racing Club in general, you can sign up to our Discord, of course, through our website. So that is virtualrealityracingclub.com. You can see all the details there, and you can get signed into the Discord and get joined into this community and get involved in some of these races even. So yeah, absolutely fantastic stuff. It's been a pleasure, Dave, to be alongside you for this championship tussle, and hopefully we will see you again shortly.
Yeah, pleasure as well, Connell. And yeah, as you said, you know, if you want to be part of this Virtual Reality Racing Club, and especially with the up and coming League of Champions with the massive £20,000 prize fund, you know, as he said, on our website, Virtual Reality Racing Club, under the link of Sim Racing, or go on our Facebook page and the details will be also there. So get involved, come and join us, and I'll let you sign out, Connell.
Yes, thank you very much, Dave, for that. Of course, thank you everyone for taking part with us and enjoying that race in action. What incredible entertainment as those drivers provided. My name has been Connell Courtney, and my co-commentator has been Dave Marshall, and we'll see you next time.
Tilda!
The inside of Coates.
Parker gets too heavily involved.
And that's Whitehead and Coates.